The legacy of Lawrence Welk has long been associated with sparkling orchestras, polished television productions, and the kind of wholesome entertainment that defined mid-20th century America. Yet what researchers recently discovered in his personal archive has sent shockwaves through the world of music history and altered the way many view the man behind the champagne music persona. For decades, Welk was celebrated as a meticulous bandleader whose calm demeanor, immaculate suits, and trademark musical style created a sense of perfection on and off the screen. Millions of viewers tuned in weekly to The Lawrence Welk Show, captivated by the harmonious arrangements, energetic performers, and Welk's gentle, reassuring presence. The man who seemed like a paragon of order, taste, and family-friendly entertainment appeared to live a life as spotless as the polished surfaces on his television set. But the contents of his personal archive, long hidden from public view, paint a far more complicated and, in some ways, startling picture of the artist, entrepreneur, and private individual. The archive, recently opened to scholars and researchers, consisted of personal letters, annotated musical scores, early contracts, photographs, and private journals spanning Welk's career from his early days as a struggling accordionist in North Dakota to his dominance of American daytime television. At first glance, the materials seemed like standard historical artifacts, yet a closer examination revealed an unexpected depth, showing a man intensely ambitious, sometimes ruthless in his pursuit of perfection, and surprisingly experimental in his musical tastes. Handwritten notes alongside classical arrangements contained ideas for blending jazz, swing, and even emerging rock elements into his signature champagne music, suggesting that Welk's creative vision was broader and more adventurous than his public persona ever allowed. Researchers were particularly surprised to find references to collaborations that never materialized, experimental recordings that were shelved, and even private performances that revealed a more daring, improvisational side of his artistry. Letters from colleagues and protégés in the archive further complicated the conventional image of Welk. While many spoke of his generosity and mentorship, others recounted moments of exacting discipline, strict rules, and intense expectations that bordered on obsessive. Musicians noted that Welk demanded absolute precision, sometimes rehearsing hours beyond what was reasonable, insisting on uniformity in both sound and presentation. While these qualities helped create the flawless performances that made him a household name, they also reveal a man whose personal drive and perfectionism could be intimidating, even exhausting, to those who worked closely with him. This tension between warmth and control, charisma and rigor, forms a nuanced portrait that challenges the simplistic, cheerful image presented on screen. Perhaps the most startling revelations in the archive came from personal journals, which scholars describe as unexpectedly candid and emotionally raw. Welk's writing reveals a man grappling with deep insecurities, fears of obsolescence, and a relentless internal pressure to succeed. There are passages in which he reflects on the difficulty of maintaining creative relevance in a rapidly changing music industry, expressing concern that audiences might one day tire of the polished, seemingly safe style he cultivated for decades. Equally striking are entries showing his admiration for contemporary musicians who were initially dismissed by the establishment, early rock innovators, jazz fusion artists, and even avant-garde composers, all of whom he secretly studied and experimented with in private compositions. These findings underscore a side of Welk rarely acknowledged, a lifelong learner, constantly observing, adapting, and refining his craft beyond the public eye. The archive also contains surprising documentation about his personal life. Photographs and letters reveal friendships, family connections, and even romantic liaisons that were carefully managed to protect his carefully curated public image. Welk, known for projecting moral propriety and wholesomeness on national television, appears in these private materials as far more human, subject to the same complexities, contradictions, and struggles that define any life. Researchers were particularly interested in documents showing his philanthropy, support of young musicians, and charitable initiatives that had never been widely publicized, revealing a generosity and commitment to nurturing talent that existed entirely outside the glare of cameras and press coverage. One of the most compelling aspects of the archive is how it illuminates Welk's negotiation between public persona and private ambition. On television, he was calm, reassuring, and impeccably controlled. In the documents, he is ambitious, restless, and at times deeply self-critical. This duality explains the enduring appeal of Welk's work. The audience witnessed perfection without understanding the human labor, sacrifice, and constant striving required to produce it. Scholars now argue that appreciating the full scope of his legacy requires recognizing not only the polished performances, but also the private experimentation, mentorship, and unrelenting pursuit of excellence that the archive has brought to light. Ultimately, what researchers found in Lawrence Welk's personal archive reshapes our understanding of the man, the musician, and the television icon. It is a reminder that the lives of public figures are rarely as straightforward as the images projected on screens. Welk was at once disciplined and daring, conventional and innovative, disciplined and intensely human. The archive tells the story of a man who built an empire of music and television through vision, precision, and tireless dedication, all while quietly wrestling with doubt, desire, and an insatiable need to create. For fans, historians, and musicians alike, these revelations are both shocking and profoundly illuminating, offering a richer, more complex view of a man whose influence on American music and television will continue to resonate for generations. The discovery leaves the world reflecting not just on the sparkling performances that define Lawrence Welk's career, but on the private, determined, and surprisingly audacious individual who made them possible. A man whose genius was as much about what he kept hidden as what he shared with millions.